My parents prioritized my brother and overlooked my hard work. Then he wasted their money on failed businesses and remained living at their house unemployed. Can you imagine watching someone you know, someone you're related to, hit your child? Right in front of a room full of people? And then that entire horrifying incident, including the arrest, goes viral on social media, completely tearing apart a web of lies and exposing a level of entitlement you wouldn't believe. Because that's what happened to me. And trust me, the universe has a twisted, yet satisfying, sense of justice. My name is Tyler, and for the past 16 years, I've been grinding, building my own roofing and general contracting business right here in Phoenix. I started with absolutely nothing, just a beat-up F-150, some basic tools I snagged from pawn shops, and a willingness to work 14-hour days under that brutal Arizona sun. Now, we employ 52 people across 3 crews, pulling in around $4.1 million annually. Honestly, not bad for a guy who basically learned the trade from YouTube videos, library books, and just pure, stubborn determination. Those early years, brutal. I lived on peanut butter sandwiches because every single dollar went back into equipment. I slept in that old truck more nights than I care to admit when I couldn't afford gas and a motel room. But I knew deep down if I could just survive those first few years, I'd build something real. My ex-wife, Rachel, well, she couldn't handle the struggle. She left me in 2018 when the business was wrestling with a recession, thinking she was trading up for some finance guy with a steady salary and benefits package. Rachel always cared more about appearances than substance. She wanted the white picket fence lifestyle without understanding the sheer work it takes to build it. Joke's on her, though. That finance dude got laid off 6 months later. Meanwhile, my company, not only did we survive, we came back stronger than ever. Sometimes the trash really does take itself out. My daughter, Emma, lives with me full-time. It was her choice. When the divorce happened, the judge gave her the option. She was 15 at the time, and she chose me without hesitation. She told me she'd rather live with someone who actually cared about her future instead of someone obsessed with keeping up with the neighbors. That decision still makes me proud every single day. Emma is 17 now, an honor roll student, varsity volleyball player, and she works part-time at a local fitness center to save for college. This kid gets the value of hard work because I made sure she learned it early. She's been helping me sort screws, organize tools, and clean up job sites since she was 8. Not because I needed free labor, but because I wanted her to understand that everything worthwhile requires effort. Emma's not one of those spoiled teenagers you see glued to TikTok all day. She buys her own clothes with money she earns, does her own laundry, cooks dinner twice a week, and genuinely appreciates what she has. When she wanted a car for her 16th birthday, I told her she could earn half the money and I'd match it. It took her 8 months of working weekends and summer vacation, but she saved up $4,500. Now she drives a reliable 2015 Honda Civic that she maintains herself, checking the oil, tire pressure, keeping maintenance records. The girl has goals, too. She wants to study business administration and eventually take over my company when I retire. We spend evenings going over job estimates, employee schedules, and profit margins. She asks smart questions about expansion plans and investment strategies. At 17, she understands more about running a business than most college graduates. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting, and why what happened later made my blood boil. My cousin, Derek, he's a mechanical engineer for a major defense contractor here in Phoenix. He makes good money, around $155,000 annually. Derek's always been a good guy. Smart, hardworking, reliable, but honestly kind of awkward with women. He spent most of his 20s focused on his career, didn't date much, and never learned to spot red flags. And that's probably how he ended up married to this absolute disaster named Brittany 3 years ago. Derek was 35, desperate for companionship and completely unprepared for what hit him. Brittany is 26, though we later found out she's actually 29 and lying about her age. a bottle blonde with obvious plastic surgery, and one of those Instagram influencer types with about 55,000 followers. Her entire existence revolved around posting bikini photos from expensive locations, unboxing designer products she couldn't afford, and promoting whatever scam supplement company paid her $200 for a sponsored story. She called it building her brand and entrepreneurship. But really, she was just a professional gold digger who struck it rich with a lonely engineer who didn't know any better. This woman has never worked a real job in her entire life. While Derek's putting in 50-hour weeks designing aircraft components, Brittany's at home taking selfies and spending his entire paycheck on designer handbags, jewelry, and lease payments for her white BMW. She's got Derek completely convinced that her social media career is going to make them rich someday. She shows him fake screenshots of other influencers making millions, talks about brand partnerships just around the corner, and promises her follower count is about to explode. Meanwhile, her actual monthly earnings are maybe $300 on a good month, mostly from desperate supplement companies targeting her few thousand real followers. The thing that really got to me was how Brittany treated Emma whenever we're at family gatherings. She's constantly making these passive-aggressive comments about Emma's practical clothing choices, suggesting she needs makeup and highlighting, and questioning why she works instead of just asking Tyler for money. Last summer, at a family barbecue, she actually told Emma she'd be really attractive if she put some effort into her appearance and maybe got some professional help. Like, lady, my daughter doesn't need your approval to exist in this world. Emma handled it with more grace than Brittany deserved, but I could see how these comments affected her. Number 17-year-old girl should have to deal with some gold-digging wannabe influencer questioning her worth. Brittany also has this 16-year-old daughter, Madison, from a previous relationship with some deadbeat who disappeared the moment child support became an issue. Madison is basically a smaller, more entitled version of her mother. Materialistic, demanding, and genuinely believes the world owes her everything because she happens to be conventionally attractive. Derek pays for everything in Madison's life now. Private school tuition at $18,000 a year. Designer clothes. The latest iPhone every time a new model comes out. Professional dance lessons. Horseback riding lessons. Whatever the princess demands. This kid has never been told no in her entire pampered life. Madison throws screaming tantrums when she doesn't get exactly what she wants, talks down to service workers like they're subhuman, and genuinely believes she's superior to other people because her stepdad has money. She's never worked a day in her life, never been held accountable for anything, and never faced a single real consequence for her behavior. The biological father? Nowhere to be found, naturally. Probably some other sucker who got trapped by Brittany's act and escaped before the financial damage got too severe. So Derek's been stuck playing daddy to someone else's spoiled brat while Brittany drains his bank account and destroys his self-respect. So New Year's Eve 2023 rolls around, and my brother, Kevin, decides to host a family party at his place in Scottsdale. Kevin's a radiologist who does very well for himself. He bought this beautiful 4,500 square foot house with a pool, 3-car garage, and mountain views. The whole suburban dream setup that takes most people decades to afford. Usually, these family gatherings are pretty relaxed affairs. Kevin's wife makes incredible food. We play some cards, watch football, count down to midnight. Nothing fancy, just family spending time together without any drama or stress. Emma and I arrived around 7 p.m. on December 31st. She was wearing these brand new Air Jordan 4 black canvas sneakers that she'd been saving up for since September. These particular shoes cost her $420 of her own money, earned from working 15 hours a week at the fitness center while maintaining a 3.9 GPA and playing varsity volleyball. Here's what makes these shoes special. They're part of an extremely limited release. When they dropped in December 2023, they sold out in literally 3 minutes. Emma had been entering online raffles, joining wait lists, and setting alarm clocks for months trying to get a pair. She finally succeeded through Nike's SNKRS app after probably 50 failed attempts. By the time we got to Kevin's house that evening, these exact shoes were already reselling for $750 to $800 on StockX and other sneaker platforms. Emma was one of maybe 200 people in all of Arizona who managed to get them through the official retail release. The moment we walked through Kevin's front door, I spotted Derek's white BMW in the circular driveway, and my mood shifted slightly. Don't get me wrong, I love Derek like a brother, but dealing with Brittany's personality at family events is exhausting. Sure enough, she was already holding court in the spacious living room with some of my female relatives, showing off her new Cartier love bracelet that probably cost Derek 3 months of overtime pay. Madison was sprawled across Kevin's expensive leather sectional, scrolling through TikTok with this bored, superior expression, like she was too sophisticated for family gatherings. She was wearing a complete designer outfit that probably costs more than most people make in a month. Golden Goose sneakers, $500, some designer jeans, $300+, and a Balenciaga hoodie, $800. All purchased with Derek's credit card, naturally. The first thing Brittany said when she spotted Emma was, "Oh wow, Emma. Those are actually really cute shoes. Where did you get them? Target." Then she laughed, like she'd made some incredibly witty joke. The dismissive tone was obvious to everyone. Emma just smiled politely and explained she'd gotten them through Nike's app after months of trying. She didn't mention the price or how hard they were to find. Emma's not the type to brag. I watched Madison's head snap up from her phone when she heard Nike and months of trying. This girl knows expensive sneakers. Derek's probably bought her 30+ pairs over the past 2 years. Madison got up and walked over to examine Emma's feet more closely, like she was inspecting a museum piece. "Wait, those are the black canvas 4s. Madison said with sudden, intense interest. "I wanted those so bad, but Derek said I already have too many shoes." She said it with this whiny victim voice, like she was somehow being mistreated by only having 3 walk-in closets full of designer footwear. Emma mentioned how she'd been working extra shifts at the gym and saving every dollar for months to afford them. You'd think that would earn some respect from a girl who's never worked a day in her life, right? Absolutely wrong. Madison just rolled her eyes, like the concept of earning something through labor was beneath her consideration. "That's so weird," she said. "Why would you work when you could just ask your dad to buy them?" "That's what I do." Emma patiently explained that I believe in teaching her responsibility and the value of money. Madison looked genuinely confused, like I just explained quantum physics to a toddler. "But that's like so much work," Madison said. "And it takes forever. Derek just buys me whatever I want when I want it. That's what parents are supposed to do." We somehow made it through dinner without any major incidents. Kevin's smoked brisket was incredible, and the whole extended family was having a genuinely good time. I was actually starting to think maybe this would be one of those rare, drama-free gatherings. How wrong I was. After dessert, Brittany announced she had special surprise gifts for the teenage girls. She disappeared into Kevin's guest bedroom and returned with these elaborate gift bags, presented with the kind of theatrical fanfare you'd expect from someone desperate for attention. Madison tore into her bag immediately, ripping through the tissue paper without a care for the mess on Kevin's expensive carpet. She pulled out this elaborate Fenty Beauty makeup palette set, probably $180 worth of high-end cosmetics. Madison barely mumbled a thanks before ripping open all the packages and testing colors on her hand, getting makeup all over Kevin's white leather furniture. No appreciation, no genuine gratitude, just immediate consumption, like she deserved these expensive gifts. Emma opened her bag more carefully, folding the tissue paper neatly. Inside, she found a $30 gift card to Bath and Body Works, along with some drugstore lip gloss that probably cost $4. The difference in value was so obvious, it was almost insulting. Designer makeup for Madison, drugstore scraps for Emma. But Emma handled it with pure class, thanking Brittany genuinely and putting the gift card in her purse without any visible disappointment. She even complimented the lip gloss color. That's when Madison noticed Emma's Jordan 4s again. That calculating, covetous look returned. "I'm literally obsessed with those shoes," Madison announced loud enough for the entire room to hear. "They would look so much better with my outfits anyway. I actually go places where people notice fashion and take photos." The entitlement was breathtaking. This girl had just received $180 worth of free makeup and was already demanding someone else's property because she thought she deserved it more. Brittany immediately jumped in to support her daughter. "Oh, honey, maybe Emma would let you borrow them sometime? You girls are practically the same shoe size, aren't you? It would be so sweet if you could share." Emma politely explained that she doesn't lend out her shoes, especially ones she worked so hard to afford. A completely reasonable response. But Madison wasn't having it. "Come on, it's not like you have anywhere important to wear them. I have a sweet 16 party next month with actual Instagram influencers coming. These shoes would be perfect for my photos, and I'd get way more likes than you ever could." The audacity was unreal. This spoiled brat thought because her stepdad had money, she automatically deserved whatever caught her fancy. When Emma held firm, Madison looked to her mother for backup. That's when Brittany's true nature started showing. "Emma, sweetie, Madison really loves those shoes, and she doesn't get to see you very often. Wouldn't it be nice to share with family? Derek works very hard to provide for all of us, and Madison has such important social events coming up." My brother Kevin tried to change the subject, but I could see exactly where this was heading. They genuinely believed they could guilt trip and pressure my daughter into giving up something she'd earned. "The shoes stay with Emma," I said firmly, keeping my voice calm, but making my position crystal clear. She bought them with her own money. Brittany put on this shocked, wounded expression. "Oh, Tyler, I didn't realize you were raising Emma to be so selfish with family members. That's really sad." The entire room went dead quiet. I felt my jaw clench and my hands form fists, but I was trying to keep my cool because Emma was watching. She needed to see that you can stand up for yourself and defend your principles without losing control. Madison, seeing her mother backing her up and sensing weakness, decided to get more aggressive with her demands. "I'll trade you," she told Emma with this fake, generous tone. "You can have my makeup palette for the shoes. That's like a really good deal for you, since makeup is what girls actually need." Emma calmly pointed out that she doesn't wear much makeup, and besides, the shoes cost significantly more than the cosmetics. Basic math. But Madison completely dropped her mask. "So what if they cost more? Derek makes like 6 figures. We can afford way more expensive stuff than you guys can ever dream of." The absolute audacity of this spoiled brat, talking about money that wasn't even remotely hers. She was bragging about her stepdad's salary like she'd earned a single dollar of it herself. And Derek? He just sat there, saying absolutely nothing. Brittany decided to escalate the situation even further, clearly thinking she could use social pressure to get what her daughter wanted. "Madison, honey, those shoes would be absolutely perfect for your Sweet 16 party next month. All the influencer kids from your private school will be there. We're hiring a professional photographer. Imagine how amazing the photos would look." She turned to Emma with this fake sweet smile. "Emma, you'd want Madison to look her best for such an important milestone, wouldn't you? Your family, after all. You can always buy another pair when you save up enough money again." "With what money?" Emma asked reasonably. "I'd have to work for another 3 months to afford these again, and they might not even be available anymore since they're limited edition." "Well, maybe that would teach you better money management skills and the value of hard work." Brittany snapped, finally dropping the pretense of being nice and showing her true, ugly personality. That was the absolute last straw. I stood up immediately. "Emma, we're leaving right now." The whole family was staring at us, but I didn't care. These people were toxic and entitled, and I wasn't subjecting my daughter to another minute of their psychological abuse. "We're done here," I announced to the room. "Emma, get your jacket." As we walked toward Kevin's front door, Madison jumped up and actually blocked Emma's path. "You're not leaving with those shoes. I want them and I should have them. I deserve them more than you do." This spoiled girl actually reached down and tried to physically grab Emma's foot to untie the shoelaces. Emma stepped back in shock, but Madison lunged forward, trying to physically remove the shoes from my daughter's feet. "Madison, stop!" Derek finally said something, but it was too little, too late. That's when Brittany completely lost her mind. She marched over and slapped Emma hard across the face with an open palm, the sound echoing through the suddenly silent room like a gunshot. "Don't you dare disrespect my daughter!" she screamed at my child, who was now holding her cheek with tears forming in her eyes and a bright red handprint across her face. The entire party went dead silent. 20 adults were staring in absolute shock. Even Madison stopped trying to grab the shoes, looking confused. Derek finally found his voice. "Brittany, what the hell was that?" But his tone was more confused than angry. But it was already way too late for apologies or explanations. I had my phone out and was dialing 911, staring directly into Brittany's eyes, letting her see exactly how serious this had just become. She was about to learn that actions have consequences. The police arrived in exactly 9 minutes. It felt like an absolute eternity. I stood there, comforting Emma, watching Brittany pace like a caged animal, finally realizing her mistake. 2 officers responded, an experienced male sergeant and a younger female officer who immediately took charge. They separated everyone for questioning. But before that, the female officer took detailed photographs of the bright red handprint across Emma's left cheek from multiple angles. The mark was clearly visible and obviously fresh, making it impossible for anyone to claim this was some old injury or accident. "Here's what saved us from a," he said. She said situation and made this an open and shut case. Kevin's comprehensive home security system. He's got Ring doorbell cameras covering the front entrance, plus additional cameras monitoring the back patio and main living areas where we'd been gathered. Everything that happened was recorded in crystal clear HD video with audio, including Brittany calling Emma selfish, Madison physically trying to remove the shoes, and the actual assault itself from multiple angles. The audio was clear enough to hear every word of the conversation leading up to the violence. The male sergeant reviewed the security footage on Kevin's tablet while taking detailed statements from everyone present. When he watched the part where Brittany slapped Emma, his entire demeanor shifted from routine domestic call to serious criminal matter requiring immediate action. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault on a minor," he informed Brittany in a tone that left absolutely no room for argument or negotiation. Derek started panicking immediately, begging the officers to just let it go, and claiming it was all a big misunderstanding between family members. "She's never done anything like this before," he kept saying. "This isn't who she really is." But Brittany made everything infinitely worse by arguing with the police officers, insisting that Emma had provoked her by being disrespectful to Madison and refusing to share. She actually told the cops that Emma needed to learn some manners, and that parents have a right to discipline disrespectful children. Madison was crying and screaming that it was all Emma's fault for not sharing her shoes like a good person should. Real classy behavior from this spoiled princess who'd never faced consequences for anything in her pampered, entitled life. They handcuffed Brittany right there in Kevin's living room while the entire extended family watched in stunned, horrified silence. Derek looked absolutely humiliated as his wife was led away in custody. And I'll admit, I felt a surge of deep satisfaction watching this entitled woman finally face some real accountability. Child Protective Services arrived about 45 minutes later to document everything officially and ensure Emma's safety. The caseworker was a seasoned professional who'd clearly handled thousands of these family violence situations throughout her career. She took additional photographs of Emma's injuries, interviewed her privately in Kevin's study to get her unfiltered account of what happened, and reviewed all the security footage independently to verify the facts. During her thorough investigation, the caseworker discovered some very interesting information about Madison's behavior patterns at her expensive private school. Turns out this spoiled kid had been systematically bullying classmates over designer clothing and accessories, threatening to get her rich stepdad to sue families who couldn't afford expensive brands. She'd been telling other students that poor people deserve to be poor because they didn't work hard enough, and that anyone wearing non-designer clothes was embarrassing themselves by coming to school. The private school administration had been trying to contact Brittany for weeks about these serious behavioral incidents, but she'd been consistently ignoring their calls and emails. 3 days later, Brittany was formally arraigned in county court and had to post $7,500 bail that Derek covered with money from their joint savings account. But the criminal charges were just the beginning of their rapidly mounting problems. Emma's volleyball coach had seen the arrest video, which somehow ended up circulating on social media despite our attempts to keep it private, and connected me with a family attorney who specializes in civil litigation involving assault cases. Within 1 week, we'd filed a comprehensive lawsuit for assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress, harassment of a minor, and creating a hostile family environment. The attorney was confident we had an excellent case given the video evidence and witness testimony. But the real entertainment was just getting started, because the story was about to go viral on the internet in ways none of us anticipated. Remember how Brittany calls herself an influencer with 55,000 followers on Instagram and constantly brags about her social media empire? Well, someone at Kevin's party, we never found out who, posted the security footage of her arrest on TikTok, and it absolutely exploded across social media platforms. The video hit 1.08 million views in the first 24 hours. By day 3, it was approaching 4.2 million views with over 800,000 shares across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The comment section was absolutely brutal and hilarious. Imagine being this entitled over your stepdad's money. Gold digger attacks child over shoes she didn't even buy. This is why you don't marry Instagram wannabes. Poor Emma just wanted to keep what she earned. Madison's behavior is exactly what I'd expect from this family. Derek needs to run from this crazy woman. Brittany tried desperately to control the narrative by posting a series of long Instagram stories claiming she was being attacked by toxic family members, and that the video didn't show the full context of Emma being deliberately provocative and disrespectful. But this backfired spectacularly because internet users love nothing more than exposing fake influencers, and people immediately started digging into her background with the dedication of professional investigators. Here's what the social media detectives uncovered within 48 hours. She'd been married twice before Derek, both times to men with substantial incomes who divorced her for financial irresponsibility and manipulative behavior. Madison's biological father was actually paying $800 a month in child support that Brittany never told Derek about. Money she'd been pocketing herself. She'd been using Derek's credit cards to fund a secret shopping addiction totaling over $60,000 in hidden debt. Her actual influencer income was averaging $180 per month, not the $2,000 plus she'd been claiming to justify her lifestyle. She'd been lying about her age. She was actually 29, not 26, as she claimed on all her social media profiles. Several of her brand partnerships were with companies that had never even heard of her. The brand sponsorships evaporated overnight. Companies absolutely do not want to be associated with viral videos of adults assaulting children, regardless of the circumstances. Her follower count started dropping like a stone. 55,000 to 41,000 to 28,000 to 15,000. As people realized she was completely fake, Derek began receiving messages from both of her ex-husbands warning him about her established patterns of financial manipulation, emotional abuse, and pathological lying. Apparently, she'd pulled identical stunts with both previous marriages, maxing out credit cards, demanding expensive gifts, throwing violent tantrums when denied anything, then playing the victim when confronted. Meanwhile, the criminal case was progressing rapidly through the court system. The prosecutor decided to pursue maximum charges due to the viral nature of the incident, the clear video evidence, and Brittany's complete lack of remorse or accountability. Then Derek made a discovery that changed everything and opened his eyes to who he'd really married. While looking for tax documents in their shared home office, he found credit card statements that Brittany had been hiding from him in a locked file cabinet. She'd opened 7 different credit accounts using his income information and social security number without his knowledge or consent. The total fraudulent debt was absolutely staggering. $73,000 in unauthorized charges for designer clothes, jewelry, spa treatments, expensive dinners, luxury hotel stays, and cash advances. She'd even been using the cards to send money to her mother and pay for Madison's extracurricular activities that Derek thought were being covered by her business income. Derek also discovered that Brittany had been making elaborate promises to Madison about their future financial arrangements. She'd been telling the girl that Derek was planning to legally adopt her and pay for her college education at whatever expensive university she wanted to attend. Derek had never agreed to any of this. He'd never even discussed adoption, and the college fund promises were completely fictional. The kid had been planning her entire future around financial commitments that existed only in her mother's manipulative imagination. For weeks after the arrest, Derek called me sounding completely defeated and emotionally drained. He was filing for divorce and wanted to know if Emma would be willing to testify about Brittany's long-established pattern of entitled and manipulative behavior toward our family. Emma absolutely agreed to help Derek escape this toxic situation. 6 months later, the criminal trial took place at the Maricopa County Courthouse downtown. With HD security footage showing Brittany slapping Emma, there really wasn't much to debate legally. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, and crystal clear. Brittany's court-appointed attorney tried desperately to argue that she'd been provoked by Emma's disrespectful attitude and deliberate antagonism. But the video clearly showed Emma being polite, reasonable, and respectful throughout the entire interaction leading up to the assault. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before finding her guilty on all charges. They later told reporters that the video evidence made it impossible to reach any other conclusion, and several jurors expressed disgust at Brittany's complete lack of remorse. She received 120 days in county jail, 300 hours of community service, $12,000 in fines and restitution to Emma, and 2 years of supervised probation with mandatory anger management classes. The judge specifically noted that adults who assault children deserve the full weight of the law, regardless of any claimed provocation. But the civil lawsuit was where we really dismantled her entire life and exposed the full scope of her fraudulent behavior. My attorney subpoenaed all of Brittany's financial records going back 5 years and uncovered a systematic pattern of fraud, theft, and financial manipulation that went far beyond what we'd initially suspected. She'd been forging Derek's signature on credit applications, using his social security number without permission to open accounts, stealing money from their joint checking account for fake business expenses, and even intercepting and cashing his tax refund checks. The divorce proceedings were absolutely devastating for Brittany in every possible way. Derek hired a forensic accountant who meticulously documented that she'd stolen over $127,000 during their 3-year marriage through various elaborate schemes. She'd been selling designer gifts that Derek bought her and keeping the cash for herself, taking money from their joint account to pay for her mother's rent and car payments, and using business credit cards for personal expenses while claiming tax deductions. Here's my absolute favorite part of this entire story. What happened to precious little Madison when the money train finally stopped? With Derek cutting off all financial support immediately, Madison had to transfer from her expensive private school to the local public high school right in the middle of the semester. No more private tutors, designer clothing allowances, or weekend shopping sprees funded by mommy's credit card schemes. The girl who thought she deserved Emma's shoes because her family had more money suddenly discovered what it's like to be a regular teenager from a broken home with financial problems. She got a part-time job at a local pizza place making minimum wage and had to start buying her own clothes at Target and Walmart instead of Nordstrom and Saks. The same girl who once bragged about Derek's six-figure salary was now asking customers if they wanted to add breadsticks to their order. Brittany lost everything systematically. The BMW was repossessed since it was leased in Derek's name. The luxury apartment was also in Derek's name, so she got evicted. Most of her designer belongings were sold at auction to pay legal fees and civil damages. She moved back in with her elderly mother in a rundown apartment complex in Tucson and eventually found work at a medical billing call center making $16.50 per hour, her first real job at age 29. Her Instagram following dropped to about 3,000 followers, mostly bots and desperate guys commenting fire emojis on her increasingly rare posts. No more brand deals, no more lifestyle content, just a washed-up former wannabe influencer posting discount codes for knockoff jewelry companies. But the universe still wasn't finished delivering justice to this entitled woman. 8 months after the divorce was finalized, Derek called me in a complete panic. The IRS had contacted Brittany about $31,000 in unpaid taxes from her supposed influencer income over the past 4 years. Turns out she'd been reporting fake business expenses, hiding cash payments from sponsors, and claiming deductions for personal purchases like designer clothes and spa treatments. The tax fraud investigation revealed even more lies and financial manipulation. They were garnishing her meager wages and threatening to seize any assets they could find. Madison, now 18 and working full-time at a restaurant while attending community college, was actually helping her mother pay rent because the call center salary wasn't enough to cover basic living expenses. The same spoiled girl who once thought Emma should give up shoes she'd worked months to afford was now learning what real financial struggle looks like. She'd gone from entitled princess with unlimited spending money to working-class reality in less than 2 years. But here's the absolute best part of this entire saga, the one that makes me smile every time I think about it. 3 weeks ago, Brittany actually called me out of the blue. She was crying hysterically, begging me to put in a good word with Derek, so he might consider helping her with a mounting tax debt that was destroying what remained of her life. She claimed she'd learned her lesson, and now understood that she'd made some serious mistakes in the past. She promised she was a completely different person who'd grown and changed through all her hardships. I told her I'd consider reaching out to Derek on her behalf if she would do one simple thing: publicly apologize to Emma on social media and admit that she was completely wrong to assault my daughter over a pair of sneakers. You know what her response was? "I can't do that, Tyler. It would destroy what's left of my reputation and my chances of rebuilding my brand." This woman had lost her marriage, her home, her income, her social media following, her freedom, and her dignity. But she still couldn't bring herself to admit she was wrong for hitting a child over designer footwear. So there you have it. My cousin's wife and her daughter tried to steal my daughter's property, and when that didn't work, they resorted to assault. In the end, the truth came out, revealing a pattern of parasitic behavior that had been enabled for years. I'm still here, still running my business. I love my place even more now, knowing what I went through to protect my daughter. I've upgraded my security system and have cameras covering every entrance. My landlord gave me a great renewal rate, partly because he was so impressed with how I handled the situation. My brother Kevin and I have grown much closer through this. My daughter Emma is stronger than ever. She learned a tough lesson about dealing with entitled people, but she learned it standing tall and supported. She's applying to colleges now, with a clear head and an even clearer vision for her future. Looking back, the most surreal part was how confident Brittany and Madison were that their plan would work. They genuinely believed I would just roll over and accept my daughter being robbed and assaulted. The entitlement still amazes me. For anyone dealing with similar family boundary issues, here's what I learned. 1. Document everything. Those screenshots and recordings saved me. 2. Don't let guilt override your rights. Family doesn't mean doormat. 3. When people show you who they are, believe them. 4. Sometimes losing family members is actually gaining peace. 5. Always have security cameras. Always. Thanks for following this wild journey with me. I never thought a simple New Year's Eve party would lead to discovering years of manipulation and entitlement in my extended family. But hey, at least I kept my daughter safe, gained a stronger bond with her, and learned who I can actually trust. Oh, and for those wondering, yes, I'm taking another vacation this summer. This time, I'm hiring a house sitter, someone not related to me. Have you ever had to deal with someone so entitled they thought they deserved your hard-earned property? What was the craziest thing someone tried to get away with in your family? I'm genuinely curious to hear your stories in the comments below.